It is Wednesday, June 4th, and I've been homeless over a year. And right now I've got a GoFundMe. I'm in the woods and I'm raising money to get a moving truck, a storage unit, all the expenses that go with that, including getting a friend of mine up here to get me to the truck. And then hopefully a night or two in a hotel or cheap motel, because I'd like to shower and get cleaned up before my interview's on Monday. And then I have a job that I can be starting on Wednesday. And again, I would like to try to make at least a relatively good first impression and not go in smelling like a homeless person. If you've been following me a while, you know I don't have any family or any close friends that can help. And my aunt, who texts me twice a day, that's all she can really do. And once in a while we talk on the phone, and last night we had an emotional conversation, and I posted a video about it, and I got a lot of silly and uninformed comments that I kind of have to address. I also want to say my shelter collapsed last night. Everything got wet. My blankets got wet. I'm all wet, and I'm cold, and I'm not having a good morning. And I'm very stressed out about my whole situation right now. So, all right. Clearly, having been homeless over a year and, trying to find any and every place that I could be, living with my aunt is not an option. I don't know how people can't put two and two together, but clearly if I could live with her, I'd already be there, wouldn't I? I've explained that over and over again, and it never gets old, but it never stops hurting, because a lot of that presupposition and just not thinking things through creates another stigma and barrier for people like me. Like somebody thinking that some commercial they saw 40 years ago about the YMCA will still hold any water. The YMCA hasn't been housing the homeless since the 70s. Now they're just an overpriced gym. That's it. So I appreciate people shooting out stuff, but unless your feet are on the ground, I'm guaranteeing that your information is pretty much useless. If you've been homeless but haven't been homeless recently, your information's outdated and probably not relevant. And again, everybody's experience is different, but what my experience has been last year and a half is that we've defunded all the resources. Oh my gosh, I'm cold. That came from state and federal stuff, because we hate brown people, we hate poor people, and we don't really want to do anything for them. We just don't want to see or hear them. And then there's the nonprofits and the churches, and a lot of them never did any services. They're just there to perpetuate and pay themselves. And the few that are left that actually did do something nice or contributed to, lifting people out of poverty, they're tapped out now. They don't have the resources, and they're being hit from every side by an exploding, exponentially growing population of homeless people, young and old, who have hit the end of the road. And there's just not enough to go around. So then there's the churches, and I barely like to talk about them because they were the worst. They're the most vile, disgusting groups, and they are so judgmental, abusive, and I tell people don't even go there, run. Unless you meet their cookie cutter example of whatever death cult they serve. And even then, they're not going to give you services without beating you over the head over things you already know, and without a lot of abuse to get there. Like, I can't stress it enough. You Christians are absolute worst, and you've left the worst taste in my mouth, and I wouldn't associate myself or put myself in the position to be abused by any of you again. So I hold people like that, especially ones who proclaim it the loudest, the furthest away. You're all a bunch of hypocrites serving a death cult. That's how I feel. Sorry, not sorry. There's no way to make it on a single income anymore. Greed is more important than a living wage. Greed is more important than family. Greed is more important than your health. Greed is more... Like, you hear me? It's not just the big companies. It's the small business owners too, because no business has the right to maintain operations if it cannot provide its employees with a living wage. And that is not the bare minimum. That is a living wage that gives you the opportunity to have the things that you need, be able to save a little money, and to be able to do the things that you need to do. And we used to be able to do that. But now on 2 incomes, you can't do that. And I know people like to make excuses and like to, make up narratives in their head why there's so many homeless people, but there's 2 generations of kids right now that should be getting into their first apartment, and the best they can hope for is they'll either stay at their parents' house or their full-time jobs if they have one, or sleep in their car or in the street while they're working a full-time job, which is my next step. I've got 2 job interviews on Monday and a $14 an hour job that starts on Wednesday. That job will not provide me enough money, nor provide any access to housing anytime soon. Even if I was a single woman with children, it's 3, 5, 10, or 20 years waiting list for housing. And a $14 an hour job isn't going to pay for much. It's going to pay for my medication. It's going to pay for keeping the storage unit on and keeping my phone on. And then everything else is probably going to go to food, because I don't have any place to prep food. I don't have any access to showers or a bathroom or anything like that. That's all stuff I got to figure out. But for this amazing privilege of accepting this shitty job, I get the luxuries of being rolled up in a tarp someplace nearby in some ditch alley behind some dumpsters or wherever, so that I can make someone else money and make them comfortable and rich. That's the world we live in. That's the reality as it is. And if things could be any different, I'll either find it or it doesn't exist. I just wanted to fill you guys in on that. I know it's not a happy thing, but it's not a happy world. We're not in a good place. And people are so just crawl in your hole and die. I don't want to see the homeless. I don't care. It's the majority. Meanwhile, 40% of us are about ready to end up that way. The elderly, the disabled, children, families. So, yep. Yeah. And again, if I had something more informational, educational that could help somebody out, I'd share it. That's my update.